Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Dhawal Deshpande, founder and CEO of Codigo Aldia. It's an edtech startup in IT domain. So in the previous video, we have discussed about list and hope you have understood it. If you haven't watched the video yet, link is given in the description below. And if you have any doubts or questions related to string or lists, you can connect with us on Discord, for which link is also given in the description below. Today we are going to understand Python tuples, its working, implementation, and also we are going to solve some of the questions. So for that, let's quickly move on to our coding environment. So when we say tuples, so tuples are the ordered collection of object in Python, right? So also we can say it's a kind of sequential data similar to that of lists, and all the property of list we can implement them on the tuples as well. Just one difference, that tuples are immutable. That means we cannot change once the tuple are made, right? So let's check how we define a tuple. So let's say it's a t variable, right? And here we are going to use the brackets, right? And inside the bracket or parenthesis, right, we can provide the values. Here you can see that instead of square brackets, what we are using parenthesis, right? And similar to that of list, we can use the indexing, positive indexing as well as negative indexing, right? So here let's check it out how it works. It works absolutely similar to that of list, right? If let's say I have to print the value at an index of 2, right? So what we are going to do is we are just going to provide the value of index, right? And after that we will run it and we will get the specific result. So it is absolutely the same as that of the list, right? Here the important thing that we need to understand is we cannot make any changes to it, right? That means let's say we have to change the value at an index of 2, that is 3, and instead of 3 we have to add, let's say, 5, right? Let's quickly go ahead and try that whether we can do it or not. So in list, if we do that, it will certainly make the changes into the list, but in tuple we cannot do that, right? Why? Because as we have understood, these sequential data types are immutable. So if we print t now, there won't be any changes, but we will get a error type, right? Which is tuple object does not support item assignment. That means once the tuple is formed, we cannot make any changes, right? Hope you have understood this. If you find any difficulty understanding these small concepts, what you can do is you can comment, provide your issue in our comment section, or you can connect with us directly on our Discord, right? For which the link is given in the description below. So moving forward, apart from this, everything, whether it's indexing, negative indexing, slicing, is absolutely similar to that of the list, right? So moving forward, let's check. So there is one more thing. Instead of checking, let me tell you one more characteristic of tuple, right? So here, type if we print this, right, and run it, it will give us the class tuple. That means our t variable is a tuple, right? So here we are able to see that there are four objects or values that are present in our tuple. But let's say we have to make a tuple which contain only single value, right? So before moving on to that, let's make an empty tuple. So if we'll do this, it's still a tuple class, right? But if we pass on just one object, let's say 1, right? Here you will see the class changes. It's not a tuple, it's an integer right now, right? So to overcome this issue, what we have to do is we have to just add a comma, right? And if we'll check again, we got a tuple. So if we want to make a tuple of a tuple containing a single value, we have to make sure that we add a comma after that object or a value, right? So once done that, we will get the data type as tuple itself, right? So moving forward, we have a tuple containing four objects or values, right? Now there is something which is known as packing and unpacking, right? So right now what we are doing, we are packing up the value, four values into a tuple, correct? So now let's say we have a different assignment, different type of an assignment, right? So in packing you will see that the left hand side is a variable and the right hand side is the assignment, right? The values or objects that we are assigning to that particular variable, in our case which is t, right? But if we will do like the assign, if we are moving the assignment value to the left hand side, right? In the case, in our case, let's say it's a, b, c and d, and after that what we are doing, we are assigning it to t, right? So what this will do is it will provide or it will assign the value, right? Or in other case what we can say, it will map the value of our tuple, that is t, in these variables, which is known as unpacking of the tuple. So in after this, if we'll go ahead and print, let's say a, then it will provide us the value 1, which is the first value or object in our tuple. See, similarly, if we'll go ahead and let's say we are printing out the value for c, we will get 3. This is a good property of tuple which comes very handy while working around with this particular data type, right? This particular property is known as packing and unpacking. So the first statement is the packing of tuple, the second statement is unpacking of the tuple, right? Hope you have understood this concept as well, right? If you find like any issues, any difficulties, you can connect with us, right? On any particular platform, we are there on Facebook, LinkedIn, even WhatsApp as well, right? And the links will be given into the description below, correct? Moving forward, there is one condition. Let's say not a condition, but the thing that you should keep in mind while working around with this property of packing and unpacking, right? Say if we go ahead and omit one variable over here, however, what we have to see, how many objects are there in our tuple, right? So after that, if we will print, let's say a, right? Here the objects in our tuple are 4, right? And the unpacking variables are 3, right? And if we run this, we'll get a error. Here you will see it's a value error, right? Why we are getting it? Because there are too many values to unpack, right? So here we have 4 values and 3 unpacking variables, so that's why we are getting this error. So instead of going ahead and unpacking randomly, what we have to see is we have to check how many values are present or how many objects are present in our tuple, and we have to unpack accordingly, right? So here we got this, right? So sorry, right? Now We can pack and unpack the values or objects directly in a single statement instead of using T right here. What we can do is we can directly, what we are doing here, we are packing the tuple right in a sequence, and using this particular statement what we are doing, we are unpacking the tuple directly without using a variable, right? This is also known as compound assignment as well, right? So if we'll run this particular program again, we are going to get the value, right? As these are some small properties or concepts that we should understand while working around with tuples, right? So moving forward, the next thing that we can do here is using this particular property, what we can do is we can uh, do swapping of values very easily, right? How we can do that, let's check it out. Let's say a is 5, b is, let's say, 7, right? And after that if we'll say like a comma b is equals to b comma a, right? And after that if we'll print a, we will get the value of 7. Why? Because again in this statement as well, what we are doing, we are again packing and unpacking the values right directly using the compound statement, right? Hope you are understanding what exactly these small concepts are, right? If you find any issues, please connect with us on any particular platform, right? We also have the Discord community, as I have told you earlier, and for which the link is given in the description below, right? So these are some simple properties, right? So today we haven't discussed about indexing and the negative indexing, slicing as well, because we have already discussed these concepts 2 times in the previous videos when we were talking about strings, lists, etc., right? So now today we were more focused on the specific properties of tuple, right? That we have understood, like they are immutable, we cannot make any changes once they are made, right? Then we have seen the assignment, packing and unpacking, right? And apart from that, we have also seen how these particular properties can be used while making swaps. However, there is one more thing, right? As we have discussed, we cannot make any changes to our tuple, right? Let's say t is our tuple. But let's say we have to make not make but add a new tuple over here, right? So what are we going to do? We are going to create one more instance of our tuple, which will be this, then t. Then what are we going to do? We are going to add it or concatenate it with a new tuple. Let's say it's 10 and this, correct? And after that when we print t, we will get the output for from this particular instance, right? So if we'll see here, we are getting a new tuple, right, which we have defined or in our line number 2, right? So what exactly we are doing, we are making a copy of our first tuple, adding or concatenating a new tuple to it, right, and making altogether a new tuple, right? So hope you have understood all these particular things. These are the simple concepts and logics that we should understand while working around with tuple, right? So as we have understood all the logics, now let's quickly move on to our questions. We are going to solve some of the questions, right, uh, related to tuples. So for that, let's quickly move on and check So these are our questions. The first question states that write a Python program to add an item in a tuple. So we have just seen how we can add an item to a tuple, right? So, still, what we will do, we will quickly go ahead and make a new file and then we'll solve this question. Okay, so for that, so this is our question, and let's quickly take a tuple, right? Let's say it's 2, 5, 7, 9, and 10. Say for an example, this is our tuple and we need to add an item, right? So for that, what we are going to do is we are going to make a new instance, then our tuple, then we are going to concatenate it with a new tuple, let's say with this, and then print t, right? So when we run this program, we will get our specific item added to our tuple, right? So this is it. Moving on to the next question. Okay, so the second question is write a Python program to convert a tuple to a string, right? Let's see how we can do that. So let's quickly take a tuple. Let's say this is our tuple, right? And then we need to convert this tuple into a string, correct? So for that, what we will do, let's make an empty string over here, right? Then we have to select. So what we have to do is we have to select all the items in our tuple, right, in our present tuple one by one, and we have to add that particular value or object to the string or the empty string that we have created. So for that, what we will do, we will go with the for loop, right, I in t. So here what we are doing, with every iteration it will take one of the object from our tuple, right? Then we are going to add that particular value to our string, correct? And after that we'll going to print s, right? So if we'll run it, we'll get our string, right? This was the easiest way how we can do it, right? Here is there is one more way, right, in which we can go ahead and, not one way, there are multiple ways, right, in which we can convert a tuple to a string, right? So take this as an assignment, or not an assignment but a problem that I'm asking you to solve. Go ahead and do some research about it, right? There are different logics that you can use, different concepts that you can use to convert a tuple to a string, right? So if you find any issues while you're researching, if you come across any particular thing, any particular what I can say question or concept that you are unable to understand, feel free to connect with us on our Discord, right? We have a very great community over there, right, and which is growing day by day. So we will be there, we will be very happy to connect with you and help you understand the concept. So moving forward, let's check out our third question, what exactly it is and what we have to do. So here, what we have to do is write a Python program to get the fourth element and fourth element from the last of a tuple. Okay, let's check how we have to solve this. So in this question, what we have to do is, yeah, so we have, say for an example, we have a tuple, right? So what we have to do is we have to print the fourth element from the beginning and fourth element from the end of the tuple, right? So let's say, let's take a tuple and 144, 55, 74, 20, 99, 88. Okay, so say this is our tuple that we have to work around with, right? And here we have to print the fourth element, right? So as we know how indexing work, right? So print, right? So what we'll do is we'll use our index. So fourth element from the beginning or from the start, right? It will be at index 3 as index starts from 0, correct? And the now we have solved the first uh, part of our question, that is the fourth element from the start. Now what we have to do is we have to print fourth element from the last of the tuple or the end of the tuple, right? So for that, print fourth element from the end, right? And in indexing we also know that we have negative indexing, right? So using negative indexing, what we will do, we will print the fourth element from the end, which will be at -4 because negative indexing starts from -1, right? So now if we will print, we will get, so see, at index 0, 1, 2, 3, it will be 74, right? And then -1, -2, -3, -4, it will be 99. So we got our question, answer, right? So we have solved this particular question as well. Moving on to the next question, let's quickly check what next question states. So it is, write a Python program to create a colon of tuple. Okay, this is an interesting question over here, right? Because we need to understand what exactly colon is, right? So basically it's just the extension of the property of tuple, right? And specifically the immutability, right? So why? Because while we are working around with colon, what we can do is we can make changes in tuple. However, as per the definition and property of tuple, it cannot be changed, right? Once we have created a tuple, right? But to do so, what we have to do is we have to put a mutable object, let's say as a list, inside a tuple, right? So what I am saying, so what will happen once we uh, add a list inside a tuple as an object? We cannot expand or add any object to a tuple, but certainly what we can do is we can add objects to that particular list, right? So as we are expanding the list or adding the value in the list, indirectly what we are doing, we are actually extending the property of immutability of tuple, right? So let's see. I do understand it might be confusing or it might be bit difficult to understand theoretically, but let's check what exactly we are doing, right? So let's take a tuple, right? Let's say it's 1, 2, 3, uh, okay, and after that we will take an empty list, right? So in this particular tuple what we have is we have three objects, correct? We have three objects and 1 2 and an empty list. Now we cannot add any particular object to this particular tuple, right? But we can add objects to this list. So how we can do that, right? So to do that, what we will do is we will take t. After that, this particular list is at index of 2, correct? Then we will append the value that we need to enter. Let's say we have to enter hello, right? And then if we'll go ahead and print the t or the tuple, let's see what result we get, right? So here you will see we have added a value. Although we have added the value in our list over here, which is at an index of 2 in a tuple, but indirectly what we are doing, we are making changes in our defined tuple itself, right? So this is a specific, not specific or but this is an interesting property of the tuple, right, that we can work around with. So if you find any questions related to it or any particular doubt related to this particular concept of colon, please connect with us, right? Let us know what issues you are facing so that we can make you understand, help you understand this particular concept, right? And also help you understand how we can implement these concepts, right, to solve the real world problems. So moving on to the next question, which is question number 5, which is write a Python program to find the repeated item in a tuple. Okay, so I'll quickly make a file of for this particular question, which is question number 5. So let's say we have a tuple over here, correct, and we are able to see that there are some of the objects that are repeating themselves, right? But now what we have to do is we have to check how many times those particular objects are repeated, right? So for that we'll use a simple concept or a simple function, right, which is the count function. And in count what we are going to do is we are going to pass that particular object that we need the counter for, right? So if we'll run it, we will get 3. Why? Because this particular statement is returning the number of time 2 as an object is repeating itself in our tuple, right? So hope you have understood all these particular questions, concepts and logics that we have discussed till now, right? I'll again repeat myself that if you find any issues, any difficulties related to any logic and concept, right, from any particular topic, you can connect with us. And to connect with us, we have a link for our community on Discord, right, in the description given below. So moving forward, let's quickly go ahead and check the next question, which is question number 6. So this is write a Python program to remove an item from the tuple. Okay. So when it comes to removing an item, that means again what we are doing, we are making changes in our tuple, right? So as we know, tuples are immutable, right? So we cannot change the tuple, but what we can do is we can slice them and make a new tuple to remove a specific object, right? Or what we can do is convert the particular tuple in a list and then perform the remove operation and then convert that particular list back to the tuple, right? So let's quickly go ahead and check uh, how we can do that, right? So let's say we have a tuple, correct? Now uh, let's say we need to remove these two values, right? 4 and 5. So what we are going to do is we are going to slice it, right? How? So we need to remove these two values, that is 4 and 5. So according to the index, the index value for this is 2 and 3, correct? So what we are going to do is we are going to slice this particular tuple from the index of 2, and again we are going to slice it from the index of 5, correct? So what we are going to do is we are right. So what we are doing here is we are first slicing it from at at the index of 2, right? So it will include the value at index 0 and 1, then it will omit 2 and 3, right? And then it will start the tuple from the index of 4. I'm so sorry, here you will take it as a 4, right? And then print t, and when we run it we'll get a new tuple, right? Omitting or deleting these two values, the specific values that we need to remove, right? So this is the first option, right? This is the first way in which we can make this particular changes, correct? Now let's check option 2. So in option 2 what we can do is we can convert it into the list, right? Here this is our tuple, right? What we are going to do is we are taking, let's say, L equal to list T. So what we have done is we have converted our tuple into the list, which is L. Now what we can do is we can directly use the remove function and remove those particular values, that is 4 and 5, right, using their indexes. So for that we will use L dot remove of the index will be 2, right? And again we will remove the index of 3. Then what we are going to do is we are going to change this particular list L to tuple, right? And then print T. So now if we'll run it, right, we'll get our specific result. Okay. So hope you have understood it, right? If you find any issues, any difficulties, right, or you come up with a different way in which you can actually solve these questions, please let us know, right? So moving forward, will be moving forward to the next question, that is question 7. Right, before that, just give me a minute. Okay, so now question 7, write a Python program to calculate the average value of the number in a given tuple of tuples. Okay, let's quickly make a new file, question 7.py. Okay, so here what we need is, okay, so first of all we need a tuple of tuples, right? So let's quickly go ahead and make it. So it will be t 145, then the next value 78, next value it's 2, 4 and 10. Correct. So now what we have to do is we have to calculate the average, right? So for that, let's take a variable, right? Then for int, then for jni, what exactly we are doing? First we are taking the first object from the main tuple, that is t, then we have to sum up the value in the tuple inside the main tuple, right? So that is why we are taking two for loop, right? Then what we are going to do is we are going to sum equal to sum plus, I'm sorry, j. Correct. Now we need the average. Correct. So it will be equal to sum divided by length of the tuple. Correct. And print okay. So now if we'll run it, okay, so now there is a problem. Okay guys, so we have corrected the issue here, right? So now we have tuple, right? We have a specific variable which we need to come up with the sum of all the values in our tuple, right? For that we are using two for loops. Why? Because we have tuples of tuple, right? So we have to iterate from the main tuple, and also we have to iterate and take values or objects from the inner tuple as well. So this will be our inner tuple and we have to take values from this tuple as well, right? So moving forward, what we are doing here is we are adding all the values, right? And then we are dividing it with the length of our tuple, right? And we are getting the average value for the given tuple of tuple. So when we run it, we'll get the specific answer, right? So hope you have understood it, right? If you have any issues, any problem with the logic or concept, feel free to connect with us on the Discord, right? And we will be very much happy to help you out in that. So now moving forward, let's quickly take the next question, which is question number 8. and it is write a Python program to check if a specific element present in a tuple of tuples. Okay, let's quickly check how are we going to solve this particular problem. So let's say we have this particular tuple of tuples, right? And we have to check if a specific or specified element is present in the tuple or not. So we have our tuple over here, which is tuple of tuples. Now what we need is we need to check if a specified element is present in the tuple of tuples or not, right? So for that, let's take a user input over here, right, and ask them to input a number, as we have uh, all the values or objects that are present in our tuple are integer, right? So now what are we going to do? So there is a particular function which is known as any function, right? So this is the syntax over here. What this function do is it returns true if any element of a given iterable, let's say it's list, dictionary, tuple, sets, anything, are true, right? Else it returns false. So over here we are going to use this particular function and check whether the particular value entered here by our user is present in our tuple or not, right? So after that we will use if statement, right? So if r is true, what it will do is it will print the value entered is present, else it will print value entered is not present. So if we'll run it, right, and let's say we are entering number 8, and so 8 is present over here because 8 is here, right, in our tuple. But if we'll enter, let's say 99, and enter, it will give us 99 is not present. Okay, so this is okay. So now this is the solution. This is the easiest solution for this particular question, right? If you come across any other logic, any other concept that you can solve this question using, right, feel free to put it into the comments or drop down to our community and let us know. We will be very much happy to hear it from you, right? So now moving on to the next question, that is question 9, which is write a Python program to compute element wise sum of the given tuple. So here it states that we need a Python program to compute element wise sum of a given tuple, right? So element wise sum means, let's say we have two tuples, right? We have t equal to 1 comma 2 comma 3. This is one tuple, right? And we have second tuple over here, which is 5, 6 and 7, right? So here we should get a new tuple, right, which will have the sum of the first element, then second element and third element. So the new tuple that we will get, it should have the value of 6 comma 9 comma 6 8 and 10 element wise sum, right? So let's see how we can do that, right? So for that, I'm writing a statement over here, right? And after that, I'll explain it what exactly we are doing. So it will be tuple. Inside that, we are going to use map. Then it will be sum, comma, zip. And inside the zip, we are going to pass on these two tuples of ours, right? And then we'll print the value of r, right? So here map function, actually we use this function to actually so what exactly this map function do is it applies function to each item in the iterable in a loop and returns a new iterator that yields transformed item on demand. So what exactly this is saying, that it will connect the value of the elements index wise, right? Now the second function that we have used over here is zip. So zip function returns a zip object which is an iterator, right, of tuples where the first item in each past iterator is paired together together, and then the second item in each past iterator are paired together, right? So these are the two functions that we are going to use, right? And some function over here that has been passed, you all know why we use some function to add add these particular um, values, right? So now if we'll go ahead and run, we will get the specific result, which is the sum, and the sum is actually element wise. Okay, so hope you have understood this concept as well, right? And if you have any doubt, any issues, you can connect with us over the comments, over the Discord, or any other social media platform, right? So yeah, moving forward, now we have the last question for today, right? Which is write a Python program to compute the sum of all the elements of each tuple stored inside a list of tuple. Okay. So this question, right? In this question, it states that we have a list of tuples, right? And we have to compute sum of all the elements of each tuple stored, right? So let's say we have a tuple over here, right? This is a list of tuples, right? This is a list of tuples. Now what we need to do is we have to sum all the elements present inside this particular list of tuples. So for that, we in the previous question we have understood the map function and sum function, right? So we are going to use that, and after that, if we'll go ahead and print r, we will get our specific result. So yes, we have completed our questions for today as well, right? For all the previous videos, we will be providing the links in the description, right? All these particular questions and their answers will be uploaded to our GitHub, and for which the link will be provided to you, right? And also we there is a link to our Discord community as well, right? Feel free to come over there, interact with us. If you have any issues related to any particular technology, right? It's not limited to Python. If you have any issues related to, like, let's say for cybersecurity, ethical hacking, or related to Linux, even Windows as well, you can come over there. We are there to help you out, right? And thank you very much for joining in today, right? And hope you are safe, and please stay safe. Thank you very much.